Hello, our viewers. This is Slow Food Uganda, hosted by Chagwe TV, an online TV. You can follow Chagwe TV on Facebook, YouTube, and even Twitter. I'm Kavanda Isaac. With me, I have a team of staffs who are helping the organization to fulfill the strategic goals. On my left, there is Monica Nabasa, Program Officer, Education. John Wanyu, Program Officer, Biodiversity. On my right, I have Maureen, Program Officer for SFIN, Slow Food Youth Network. And extremely right, I have John Chuagalo, who is a Program Officer in Communication and Advocacy. I'm Kavanda Isaac, Community and Network Building. I would like to introduce to you the Slow Food Advocacy and Communication Officer to do more of the introduction of what Slow Food does.
Slow Food Uganda is part of Slow Food International, a global association which works to prevent the disappearance of our local and traditional food cultures, and also to preserve quality food and to ensure that people can access food which is good, clean and fair. Good food is that food which is healthy for human consumption, and it has its natural taste, and it is rooted in seasons. And good, clean food is that food which is respectful to the environment in terms of production. And fair food is that food which is affordable and accessible to each and every one, and it is fair to both the producer and the consumer. Slow Food Uganda started as a rules network in 2006, and it was registered as a non-government organization in 2015, and it is working in 48 districts of the country. Slow Food works to achieve three strategic goals, and the first goal is to defend biodiversity. The second goal is to educate a wider world about food in a holistic approach. And the third goal is to advocate for sustainable policies and also practices that ensure sustainable food systems.
Thank you. Monica Nabasa to explain to what the Educational Hub is doing in Slow Food Uganda.
Once again, my name is Monica Nabasa and I'm the Program Officer, Education Hub. In the Education Hub, we are educating people, that is children in primary schools, students in secondary schools, college students, about sustainable farming, and that is also including agroecological practices. And then we are also working in communities to ensure that there is responsible production and consumption. With responsible production, we mean that food is being produced in a good, clean and fair way. That is, the environment is not being harmed, and also our health is not being affected. And then with responsible consumption, we mean that the food we are eating is prepared in very good ways that are not again harming the environment and also our health. In Uganda so far we have over 300 school gardens and over 100 community gardens that we are working in, and these act as a platform for sustainable agricultural practices. And in our work we are basing on agroecological principles which ensure sustainability. Thank you.
My name is John Wanyu and I'm the Program Officer for Biodiversity Protection. This is the pivot to which most of slow food activities are actually rotating, and we are protecting both the culture and biological diversity. And within this hub, we are looking at the Ark of Taste. For those of you that read the Bible, you know about the Noah's Ark. We are looking at plants and animals and culture and knowledge that are at risk of extinction, bring them, gather knowledge about them, and we get communities that are actually still working with them or working to protect them, that are growing certain plants, rearing certain animals. We work with them, and from those we create presidia. If you go to our website, you will find the Ark of Taste link to see every of the plants we have and animals already enlisted. And then from the presidias, we create also the earth market. So farmers with the plants and animals that are at risk of extinction work as group to create procedures for economic benefit, but obviously for slow food, for the protection of that particular species. And then from those we make the earth market, so to make these products available to the community. As the saying goes, eat it to protect it.
Once again, my name is Maureen Nkunda, the project coordinator, Slow Food Youth Network. Slow Food Youth Network, Uganda, which we normally short form as SFIN. You might be there and you hear of SFIN. So this is Slow Food Youth Network. It is part of the Slow Food Youth Network International, which is a youth-led movement and plays a great role in bringing about changes in the field of production and consumption. Slow Food Network involves a group of passionate and motivated young people who have the desire to good, clean and fair food. These young people form an interdisciplinary network of young future food leaders, young entrepreneurs. They form an interdisciplinary network of students, and all these networks help to shape the food system. Through the unique events and activities of the Slow Food Youth Network groups, they help to create always awareness about several food issues, several sustainable issues, such as how to feed the world, such as how to fight against food waste, and such as how to produce food as sustainable as possible. Thank you.
I also have John Chiwagalo, who is managing the communication and advocacy hub. So, John, can you tell us what do you mean by advocacy, and can you explain what your hub does in slow food?
We want to ensure that we influence policies and also practices that ensure sustainable food systems in the entire world, and also to ensure that we work with communities and also partners to ensure that we influence the leaders to come up with policies which can help to sustain our agricultural practices, but also to sustain the small-scale farmers. So as Slow Food Uganda, we work to ensure that people can access food which is good for them, good for those who grow it, and good for the planet. And through this, we have to ensure that there are favorable policies and also good practices that can help us to achieve those objectives and also our general goal. So in Uganda, we actually have several advocacy initiatives where we engage the leaders, but also the communities, the citizens themselves, to talk for themselves and also to influence policies on from the grassroots to local level and also to national level. So we organize activities like the Food Parliament, where we bring citizens of different kinds and they have dialogues with their leaders. They deliberate on issues which affect the food or which affect them as citizens in terms of food and nutrition security. But also we organize community feedback forums to ensure that people can bring views and also can share their views to the leaders so that the views can be worked on. For example, right now we have what we call the Parish development model, which was launched by the government of Uganda, and we always work to ensure that people can understand such kind of programs which are brought up by the government. So through this, we bring the citizens on board and they have discussions directly with their leaders. And through this, we come up with different, there can be policies, resolutions that can help us to promote sustainable food systems. A case in point, we had food parliaments organized in Buikwe district for the past 4 years, and through the food parliaments we were able to come up with an ordinance called the Buikwe District Food, Nutrition and Environment Management Ordinance 2020. And this ordinance was passed by the Buikwe District Local Government Council, and it is being signed by the chairperson LC5 of the district, and it is awaiting to be sent to the to be signed by the Attorney General, and it is gazetted, so it helps us to manage the agricultural sustainable agricultural practices within the district, but also to ensure that people can have agroecological practices fostered and practiced in their communities. But also we have other outcomes. For example, there was a resolution which was passed by Bukono District local government on the rampant sugarcane production, which is envisaged to be affecting the communities within Bukono District in terms of food insecurity. Thank you
very much. I would like to go back to to Johnny Wanyu. You discussed and told us more of what you do. You said something called the earth market, so we are not well versed what is an earth market. You said what you do. There is a procedure. What is a procedure and what is an earth market? Can you elaborate more on that in your biodiversity sector?
Yes, as I mentioned, the biodiversity hub works in steps. We start by nominating the products that are at risk of extinction. Then, in the nomination, we find communities that are already still working on them, that still have knowledge about them. We collaborate with these communities, and these are the communities that in turn become presidia. It is a Latin word that actually means community. So, this community, now at this moment, we have about 6 presidias that are working on coffee, the Nyasaland coffee, the Chisansa coffee, the Ankole Longhondi cattle, the Kayinja, the climbing yam, Balugu, and of course the millet, the finger millet. So these presidia literally means communities that are working with us in collaboration to protect that species that is at risk of extinction. They gain financially, and definitely we gain as in the protection of our biodiversity. That is the biological biodiversity. Then the earth market, normally farmers hate the idea of coming out to sell what they produce. They normally give it to middlemen to be sold to the final consumers. But in this process, we lose a lot on knowledge and also financially. So we ask our farmers to come out and sell what they produce and even communicate it to the consumers. This gives pleasure in the consumption of food, but still farmers who produce that food that is healthy, traditional, indigenous plants also have a chance to come and gain the financial benefit of it, but still bring out to the consumers who would actually be facing the food scarcity or the food insecurity, even the nutrition insecurities, because normally farmers have a lot in their gardens, and so they bring the variety of foods in this market. And because there is a chance to explain the knowledge of all this food to the consumer, that is an added advantage. We are completing the chain but making it shorter. If a farmer has a product that would be sold at 10,000 in the market, they normally sell it at 7,000 to middlemen, and the middlemen sell it at 15,000 to final consumers. So we are saving by farmers coming and adding the 3,000 and sell it at 10, but a consumer is saving the 5,000 that would be wasted by the middlemen. So those are the earth markets, and at the moment we have 3. We have one in Mbale, in Manafa district. Another one is in Mukono, the Mukono Wakisho Earth Market, and also we have the Lila Earth Market. These earth markets bring together over 200 farmers, and actually they are maintaining over 200 families. If you mention in number of people, they are a lot.
Thank you, John, for the great explanation about the earth market and the procedure, but also we have 2 other areas which you talked about. You talked about the arc of taste and also the cultural diversity. Can you explain more about what cultural diversity is and the arc of taste?
All right, thank you so much, Isaac. Now, the cultural diversity, look at a country like Uganda, where we have indigenous communities like the Batwa and the Karamajong, whose knowledge that has maintained this planet to this day is not being considered as important. We have the Batwa who keep certain, who produce a certain, I would say, variety of honey that is really wonderful. You know the way they keep their honey in the trees. That is knowledge. It is helped to conserve the environment because bees are pollinators. Communities around the Batwa yield so much from the work of the bees that Batwas keep. If this is not given attention to, we are losing this knowledge from the indigenous community because we are marginalizing them. The Kalamajongs, they have been pastoralists for generations, for years that I cannot mention. They know how to take care of animals and actually how to depend on them both with milk and meat and blood. So they keep the animals for generations, but these animals do not finish, but just actually accumulate. We need all this knowledge. It's cultural knowledge that, if used properly, can help us sustainably. Now, the Ark of Taste is an online catalog. If you go to our website, you will find all those foods that you can hardly find in the markets right now, or you even don't know about. It is knowledge that we collect it together and then upload it there, that at any one moment we will harvest and reuse in order to reproduce these plants and animals, and obviously the knowledge from the indigenous communities that we have to benefit us in terms of in terms of food and culture, and obviously the environmental protection, and definitely to keep us healthy.
Madam Monica, thank you for your first introduction about the gardens and the project, how it is going. How do you do these gardens? Because you said you have gardens in the community and gardens particularly in the schools.
As I already said, Slow Food Gardens act as a platform for learning about sustainable production and consumption. So meaning it's a demonstration. Slow food gardens are basically demonstration areas. So there are certain processes we follow to have schools and communities to be part of the slow food gardens. First, we nominate the schools. Like every year we create some new gardens depending on the situations and the issues that are currently being faced in the country. For example, climate change. So this year, for example, we created 16 new gardens, new slow food gardens, some of which are in schools and others are in communities. So the first process is nomination, and this is mainly done by the slow food garden coordinators. We have regional coordinators, and then we have garden coordinators. So the regional coordinators help in identifying the gardens and communities that are interested in slow food. And in some other cases, we receive a lot of requests from different people from all over the country requesting Slow Food Uganda to create gardens in their schools and also in their communities. And this is because they've read something about the slow food gardens on Facebook, on Instagram, and also the website. So we go ahead to nominate these gardens. So after the nomination process, we go ahead to verify these gardens. So we carry out a field visit to each individual community or school gardens to understand the situation there, and also to carry out a needs assessment, because different agricultural zones have different issues they are facing. For example, in the north, there are so many issues related to climate change. They have really not received rainfall for a long period of time. So we note this down. When we go to the west, we find that so many people are facing issues related to soil erosion, to maybe limited technical knowledge. So we note all these issues and challenges being affecting these areas, and when we come back to office, we note it down. So after the verification process, we go on with the trainings. Firstly, we have the National Gardens Training, which brings together all the new gardens formed. So, like this year, we recently had our national training in Selele. We had gardens from Mubende coming together with gardens from Selele and gardens from Vugweri. So when they converge, we call it a national training, because we are having people from different parts of the country. And in this training, we introduce to them slow food. Basically, we are educating them about the difference between slow food and fast food. Then we are educating them about different agroecological practices, because as you already know, in slow food, we do not support the use of synthetic chemicals due to the negative effects they have on the environment and also on our health. So within the national training, we create awareness about the effects of use of these chemicals, and as a solution to such problems we practically carry out like for example making organic fertilizers, liquid manure, compost manure, and we go ahead to make organic pesticides, because these are mainly the challenges being faced. And then again, climate change has become a very it's actually a global challenge. I wouldn't even say a national challenge. So we go ahead to talk about climate change adaptation, climate change mitigation. Then diets, it's also a very important issue in schools. We've realized that some schools feed children on beans and posho throughout the year. So we go ahead and talk about the diets. Then the rise in non-communicable diseases. These days there are so many diseases coming up, for example cancer, diabetes, hypertension. So we talk to the new teachers, new community garden leaders about all these things. And actually one thing I didn't mention with the slow food gardens is also it's a platform for networking, because when people come together they share knowledge, share experiences, and trust me, the coordinators never go the same. At least they pick one or two new things from the training. So then after the national training, we encourage the garden coordinators to go and practice what they have learned from the training. Then we go ahead with the regional trainings. So for a regional training, we select a specific area. For example, as I already said, we have gardens in Mubende district this year. So we specifically invite garden coordinators within Mubende. So they come together for a regional, as the word regional says, it's only that specific area. Then we also invite some of the old garden members within Mubende district. But it's also not limited to only garden coordinators, but also other projects, other slow food projects. So when they come together, they share knowledge, practically do some of the agroecological practices, and they carry it on to the schools and communities. Then within the schools, we encourage the teachers to create young farmer clubs. This is a group of pupils from different classes. I'll give an example. In primary schools, we select children from, for example, P3 to P7, because we know if we only choose pupils from one class, then if they complete their primary living examinations, then the club stops. So we have different pupils from different classes within the slow food club. And in this club, we form a leadership committee. We have the chairperson, we have the treasurer, we have the storekeeper. So basically, slow food gardens also instill leadership skills within the pupils. Then in communities, the same is done. We have to select leaders who will continue governing the slow food gardens. Then from the regional training, we go ahead to have on-site trainings. This is whereby we have the Slow Food Uganda staff, volunteers, and all the other technical people visiting the schools and communities to work with them to find solutions to the challenges being faced on the garden. Then after the on-site trainings, we follow up with other technical visits. Sometimes we receive calls from some of the garden coordinators, and then we go ahead to visit the schools and provide the technical advice. Then within the gardens project again, we organize events. We have educational events. For example, the fruit and juice party. This is an event that brings different schools together, communities, to learn about the indigenous, local and traditional fruits. Basically, it promotes the production and consumption of the indigenous, local and traditional fruits. So this is an event that is really fun, with a lot of edutainment, a lot of tastings, fruit salad making, and juice making. So we also believe that to educate children, it's not always good to make them learn only from the classroom, but they can also do it in a fun way. Trust me, when you're having an event, it's easy for a child to pick up and they will never forget that. Then we have other events. We have the vegetable event, which is also promoting the production and consumption of our local, indigenous and traditional vegetables. And then within the communities, the cooking sessions in communities, and actually even some teachers in schools have gone ahead to organize cooking competitions to create awareness about the local food. Then again, there are some schools which are even telling us that they are encouraging children to write poems, and they are presenting them during the assembly. So it's really interesting. Then you asked something about feeding the schools. We are not providing food to the schools, but rather we are encouraging the administrators to provide land for farming to enable these children have a variety of nutritious food, because we also believe that when children are not having food, then they are actually performing bad in class. So it's really important for them to have nutritious foods once at school. Yes, then maybe to conclude with other importance of the slow food gardens, we can say they are open air classrooms, because we've had some trainings in schools, and when we create a garden in the school, it's not only attracting the pupils, but even the teachers, even parents are coming to learn from this. So it's not just a garden, but a sustainable garden, which enables people to learn about responsible production and responsible consumption for a sustainable food system.
Thank you, Monica. Then let's go to Maureen. Maureen, you had many things you talked about, how the youth are doing. The Slow Food Youth Network is working. But I would like you to explain to us about how you do the leadership skills in the youth network and some events, because you talked of a number of events and how you communicate with these youth groups. How do you formulate them and how do you communicate to them?
First of all, Slow Food Youth Network, it has a national committee which is headed by the national coordinator, and that committee is normally comprised of 8 people, where we have of course the national coordinator, his or her assistant, the media person, the resource mobilizer, among others. So that committee is the driver. It is the driver of the SFIN network. So with the committee, they normally sit as a group and they discuss about the activities. They normally produce a work plan, or which is normally for the year, and when they sit, they discuss about so many things, of which they normally discuss about events and activities, and they make work plans for such activities. For example, like in April, the SFIN committee members, of course together with other SFIN members, they organized an event called the Disco Soup, and that event is actually, it is global. It is global. It is organized by all slow food countries. As like they said, slow food is in 160 countries. So that disco soup is normally organized by all those countries. The disco soup is an event that is organized to fight against food waste. It is normally organized in a way where youth or young people go in a certain place and they sensitize people against food waste. For this year's case, the Slow Food Youth Committee and other volunteers went to Chiindi, it is in Buyukwe. They went to market vendors and to fishermen, and they collected mostly vegetables. They are the ones that were used this year, which were about to be thrown away. They collected them, they took them into one place, and they gathered people, including the vendors and children and cooks, and they showed them practically ways of preserving them from going bad. Like they got like vegetables which were almost going bad. They chopped them into small pieces and they cooked them and made delicious soups. We taught them how they can make powder from those vegetables so that they can preserve the vegetables from going bad, because we don't want to see food getting lost or getting wasted when we have other people who are hungry out there. because we all know that some people out there don't have food, and some communities have food which is being wasted. Slow Food Network is joined by people who are passionate and motivated to bring about changes in the food system. Like, we don't have that you have to sign such papers or these papers. But for you, if you are really passionate and you are motivated and you want to see a better food system, we welcome you. Of course, we have so many events and activities that we have. Even this year, we had the Good Food Camp, which was a really good event for us, Slow Food Youth Network. That Good Food Camp was organized in Buyukwe in May. It is an annual event, and this is the second year. This was our second edition. We had it in the last weekend of May, and we had it in Buyukwe. This Good Food Camp is normally a 3-day event where we gather youth from different regions of the country, and this year we were lucky, and we even had participants from East Africa. We had participants from the whole of East Africa. We had participants from Kenya, participants from Rwanda, and participants from Tanzania. So this Good Food Camp is a good initiative in a way that we gather youth from different regions, from different backgrounds. Then we sit together, we gather together, and then we discuss about different food issues, like how to feed the world, how to produce sustainably, how to consume sustainably. Like, we make youth familiar to the philosophy of food, of slow food, which says food should be good, clean, and fair to everyone.
Thank you. Event of the Good Food Camp. Hope there is eating a lot of new varieties of food. John Chiwagalo, you explained a lot about communication and advocacy. You have to explain more about the food parliament, that the viewers will understand what a food parliament is.
We, as I said before, we organize food parliaments, and food parliaments are informal multi-stakeholder platforms which bring together people of different categories, people of different professions, to have a discussion directly with their leaders on issues that affect them in their communities, and also issues that affect food and nutrition security. For example, they can discuss on issues of land grabbing, they can discuss on issues of malnutrition, food waste, and so on and so forth. So that is the food parliament, and it is open to each and every citizen who would want to participate, and it is always organized by the Advocacy Hub of Slow Food Uganda in different districts and in different occasions. We also organize campaigns because we thought that it would be important to have our people engaged in campaigns that can help them to sustain their efforts, but also to have their voice widely disseminated. So we have campaigns like we had actually what we call the land grabbing campaign, which had a theme that our food in danger, stop land grabbing, and this campaign ran from 2017 to 2020, and we are looking forward to having it more organized more times, and we are still looking for ways on how we can make it better. But of course, we have also other campaigns which we are organizing, like My Food, My Identity campaign, and there are campaigns which are organized on a global scale, and they are joined by the local chapters. For example, the Food for Change campaign, and all these campaigns are working to see that we amplify our voice, but also we reach a wider community on different food issues which affect us. Secondly, my colleagues have been talking about events. You find that most of the work we do in Slow Food Uganda is cross-cutting, that you can have activities which are in education, biodiversity, Slow Food Youth Network, but at the same time they can be in the advocacy. So through activities like events, we also do advocate for better policies. When we organize events, like Monica said, when we organize the Fruit and Juice Party, we don't only call children at the Fruit and Juice Party, but we also call the leaders to come and attend the Fruit and Juice Party. And through that, we actually practically tell the leaders that things should be like this. If it needs to be planting trees in schools, it would be better to have the children understand the importance of planting trees in school compounds, and also the importance of consuming fruits. So through that, we are advocating, and we are amplifying our voice, and also we are sharing our our views or ideas to the leaders for implementation. Since we are advocating for agroecological practices, sustainable food systems, it is always important to build capacity, mostly for our small-scale farming households, to ensure that they understand exactly what we are advocating for. So through that, we always conduct workshops, we conduct informal exchange visits and formal learning exchanges to ensure that people can learn from each other and also learn on how best we can advocate for food which is good, clean and fair. Lastly, we do engage media in our activities. We always hold radio talk shows. We have different media engagements to ensure that we reach a wider world or a wider community on the issues that affect us, and to ensure that we can work on different issues that affect food and also that affect our planet. Thank you.
As Slow Food in advocacy, Slow Food is majorly concerned about food, and food production is done on the land. How have you gone about the land grabbing issues? And also, Slow Food does a lot on the new varieties of seeds. How have you gone about the seed multiplication and the loss of the indigenous seed in terms of advocacy?
Land grabbing is in different forms. It can come directly or indirectly. A multinational company can come and lie to small-scale farmers that we are going to buy you fertilizers, we are going to give each and everything. So you plant this kind of crop at monoculture basis, and through that you find that the land is grabbed. Secondly, we organize the academies with the Slow Food Youth Network, and through the academies we take the youths to areas where land grabbing is affecting people from, so that they can learn from the real practices which are in those different areas, and after that they come back and forge ways on how we can curb such kind of challenges. So we have so many different interventions which we employ to ensure that we sensitize people about their rights, mostly the land rights. One of our strategic goals is to defend biodiversity. It is always important to conserve our traditional and indigenous seed, and it is always threatened by the super hybrid seeds which are brought up by the multinationals who are just profit oriented. So for us, we do a lot of intervention. We have a lot of interventions. For example, we establish what we call community seed banks, and through these community seed banks, farmers are aware about the importance of preserving our indigenous seeds, but also the seeds are multiplied and they are shared among the farming households, and through this we have our seeds conserved, and also we have farmers appreciate the fact that traditional seeds are sustainable because they can be replanted, they are less affected by pests, and so on and so forth.
In the community and network building as Slow Food, we enter these communities by identifying groups. And in Slow Food, we term them as food communities. So we build up these communities by supporting them to understand the good, clean and fair way of handling their food. And this is done by selecting a number of communities. And now we have 110 food communities on board who are working with the Slow Food, and some of them are the ones who are doing the preservation of the biodiversity through the Presidia project, we've said, through also the identifying the Arc of Test projects, and this is done in the over 40 districts of Uganda. So we have about 110 communities that are working in this. This helps us to penetrate and to disseminate our information through these communities that are organized as groups. Sometimes other people call them farmer groups, but these are communities. It might be a community protecting a different variety of food or doing a different cultural value that could support the food production. In this, we also have meetings. We organize them in a national meeting, and it's a movement which helps all people to understand the benefit and the idea of slow food. And through these communities, we also have some events organized. Every year we have to organize what we call the Terra Madre Day event, where we think about food and we discuss about food and its culture, how it's produced, how it's consumed, and then it's more of enjoying and eating food in different ways and different cultures. So everything is displayed on that. And as we say, slow food is built on community level. So we have these communities organized in farmer groups, or what we call food community in slow food. This is the way we penetrate and we enter these areas. So we have over 110 food communities, and on that we added, it's where we add these other communities like the schools, like the organized chefs. These are also different communities. So this is how we do to build and have this network built together. Under that, we also bring in the young generation through the Slow Food Youth Network. It's under the food, the networking and food community building. So these are the people who are helping the development of slow food. And slow food is a community-based organization where we think we get knowledge, idea from the grassroots and from the communities. Okay, thank you for this elaborate explanation. So our viewers on Chagwe TV, thank you for listening and viewing us. Let me give this opportunity to each and everyone who has been on this panel to give a last remark on what we are doing. Let me start with John.
My last word would be that Slow Food Uganda is more than a non-government organization. We are a network that we work with each and every person as long as you eat food. So please join us, and don't forget to follow us on our social media handles, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Slow Food Uganda. We actually, we shall be running different series of programs with Chagwe TV. Don't forget to subscribe on Chagwe TV YouTube channel, and also to follow them on Facebook to ensure that you can be following most of our activities which we shall be running. We shall be showing you practically what the slow food gardens are. We shall be showing you how the food parliaments are run. We shall be showing you how the seed banks are being established. We shall be showing you a lot of engagements and activities, and also events, Slow Food Youth Network activities, and so on and so forth. So we thank you so much, and please keep subscribed on YouTube channels of Chagwe TV and Slow Food Uganda.
Thank you so much, our viewers. Please kindly visit the Slow Food International and Slow Food Uganda websites to check for more information about slow food and about the food systems. You can find information, for example, the handbook on slow food gardens and more other technical sheets on water management, soil fertility, organic pesticides, and so more. Thank you so much.
If you know of a certain animal, plant species, or knowledge that you believe that is actually undergoing extinction, please call us and let us gather that information and save that. Then with the communities, we are also coming, coffee farmers, we have a lot of trainings for you, and all that are involved in a network of slow food. I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much.
Let's have Maureen to give her last comment.
Youth, you have to know that we are the future leaders. We are the future food leaders, and it is our role and responsibility to shape the food system in a better way. So that's all I need from you. You can visit the Slow Food Youth Network International and the Slow Food Youth Network Uganda websites to know more about Slow Food Youth Network. Thank you.
Okay, thank you Chagwe TV for hosting us. Come on our disposal. We are ready to host you, we are ready to have you, and we are ready to integrate you in our slow food communities. And then we save our diversity, we save our food. Tell your friend, tell your neighbor the good thing of slow food. Thank you.